Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 92 of Cutscene Convos. We've got an absolutely stacked episode this week. We've got a character profile on the one and only Beast. We'll be breaking down and discussing episodes 3 and 4 of Invincible Season 2. We'll be talking about Iman Vellani's comments regarding the Marvel's poor box office reception, as well as a very busy Nerd News Network and our content championship, which is the Clone Wars versus Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. But before all that good stuff, Horizontal, how has your week been?
My week has been just, heavy one and just very up and down. I know, obviously, we didn't have an episode last week. Unfortunately, that was due to my grandma had passed away. So I took the week off and spent time with family and stuff. And then just the last 2 weeks of, very up and down, very kind of all over the place with things. Lots has been going on. Had work deadlines to deal with on top of everything. Then, like 2 days ago, I've gone and injured my arm, so that's just added to things. It's just, it's been a couple of weeks. It's been a
Yeah,
very,
it has been 2 weeks of all time.
just busy up and down. Lots just going on in life, and honestly, ready for Christmas and ready for the new year at this point.
Get 2023 out of here.
Yeah, honestly, a mood. But yeah, how's your 2 weeks been?
Um, Weird, I guess. So last week I was off work Monday to Thursday because my parents had gone away and I had annual leave to use.
Oh yeah,
So we were at home looking after the doggo. It was Jenna's birthday, so I booked the Monday off for her birthday. I was
mm-hmm.
like, I've got 3 days of annual leave that I'm not going to get to use for anything else, so I may as well take as much of that week off as I can.
Yep.
And then it's been back in work this week. It's been relatively quiet. I've been playing a lot of new Call of Duty on that grind. But other than that, nothing too exciting.
Other than your webcam.
Yeah, we're not going to discuss it.
Oh, okay, we're
We're
just
not
not
going
going
to
to
discuss
address
it.
it.
We're not going to
Okay.
discuss the fact that we've sat here for almost an hour with me trying to fix it and almost headbutting my monitor. We're not going to discuss that.
Okay.
We're just going to have a good time talking about comic stuff. Yeah. Hee hee. Um, this week's character profile is on Beast. Oh my god, I forgot how much I wrote for this. Jesus Christ. Okay. Dr. Henry Philip or Hank McCoy, aka Beast, first appeared in X-Men #1, July 1963. Born in Dunphy, Illinois, to Norton and Edna McCoy, his father Norton worked at a nuclear power plant where he was exposed to a huge amount of radiation. However, this didn't harm Norton at all. However, it did cause his genes to be affected, meaning when Hank was conceived, he was affected and born as a mutant. Unlike most mutants, Hank's mutation was noticeable at birth due to his unusually large hands and feet. As he grew up, it became apparent that not only were his hands and feet large, but he was incredibly strong and agile, as well as being incredibly intelligent with a thirst for knowledge to match. And throughout his childhood, his strength and agility only improved and increased, further separating himself from his human kin. Hank would go on to attend Bard College, where thanks to his powers, he became a superstar football player. Hank didn't hide his mutation or desire for knowledge. However, this would be his undoing as he would be exposed as a mutant and forced to leave the school.
Ah,
It was at this stage Charles Xavier, also known as Professor X, who was in the process of forming the X-Men, approached him about joining the X-Men and being able to continue his studies at Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. While under Professor Xavier's tutelage, Hank was able to spend his days working on equations, reading, and working out in the Danger Room with the X-Men, as well as battling their rogues gallery such as Magneto, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and more. After completing his doctoral studies, Hank left the X-Men and Xavier's school to take a position as a genetic researcher at the Brand Corporation, which is a division of the Roxxon Oil Company, which would later become the Roxxon Energy Company. While working there, Beast isolated and extracted the hormone required to cause mutations. However, when he discovered a co-worker planned to steal it, he consumed it. This caused a secondary mutation in Beast, in which he grew blue fur all over his body. His muscles grew even further in size and density. His ears grew and became pointed, as well as his canine teeth becoming larger, resembling fangs. These changes weren't just superficial, however, as he also had a further increase to his already incredible agility, endurance, speed, and strength, as well as his senses getting enhanced and developing a healing factor, becoming the more iconic and recognizable beast that we all know and love.
Mm-hmm.
Beast's a very interesting character because I feel like, especially for people like me and yourself, who grew
Mm-hmm.
up watching the animated X-Men,
Yeah.
Beast was like a kick-ass character.
Yeah.
The really kick-ass characters in the original X-Men animation were like Gambit, Beast, and Wolverine.
Yeah.
And like I was vaguely aware that in the early days of the X-Men, Beast wasn't blue, but I didn't realize that there was like a reason for that. I thought it was more like the Hulk was supposed to be grey, and then a misprint made him green.
Uh, I just
So
kind of always known him as the blue furry guy.
exactly. So it's interesting to see that was actually a secondary mutation,
Yeah.
and also that now that we know the X-Men come from the X gene, it's
Mm.
now interesting to know that initially that wasn't the case, because Beast's
Yeah.
mutation was caused by his father being dosed with radiation, which is an interesting spin on the trope of like chemical waste or radiation or something that should kill you giving you superpowers. They're like, oh no, it didn't even hurt him. It just caused weird sperm.
Just give him mutated sperm.
Yeah, just gave him
Yeah,
super
it's definitely
crazy.
I like stuff I didn't know about him.
Yeah,
I always just presumed he had that
being the big
mutation
blue
that
flurry
made
guy.
it just made him absolute unit, and he
Yeah,
was blue.
but for those of you who watched X-Men First Class, they did a similar thing. In X-Men First
Yeah,
Class, he didn't have fur and he had the other abilities, and he developed the gene that was a suppressant and allowed people to hide their powers a little bit so they could blend in. And then he had a reaction to it, and it made his powers have a really aggressive reaction, and that's when he
yeah, I
became
remember
Beast.
that now.
So that was kind of like a little
Okay, that explains why. In my
alteration of the because I at the time I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to show Beast's story. When in
hmm,
reality, that was a lot closer to
what actually happened?
his actual origin.
Yeah, I think that's why in my head I was starting. You was talking, I was like, I was like trying to remember, can he hide his blue fur? And then I think what I'm remembering is X-Men First Class when it like has that reverse effect, and then he gets all the blue fur and everything.
Yeah. Now
Now,
we've got two very large episodes of Invincible to get through.
yeah,
In fact, they are no larger than normal, but a lot happened.
it does feel like a
And
lot happened.
we're also now in a mid-season break, which
Yeah,
has the
already.
internet
Which,
up in arms. So we will start with episode 3 as it happened first.
mm-hmm.
Um, I I liked it. I did find the narrator kind of jarring.
Yeah, when he came in for the like Adam the alien bit,
Alan?
Alan, not Adam, Alan. Yeah, it was a bit like, oh, that's a bit because we have we had a narrator in season one?
No.
No, I didn't think so. So I was like,
No.
sat there and I was like, I don't really remember this in season one happening, but did it? Even though I've only just not long ago watched it, but yeah, it was a bit
I
weird.
I think the logic being was the episode was an Alan the Alien story and it wasn't an Invincible story, so they could do like a different thing.
Yeah, I get it.
Um, but like you said, I'm not sure I necessarily agree or like it.
I'm okay with it being a one-off.
Yes. But it did give us some interesting progression on a number of sides of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So it started off with Mark, Amber, and William arriving at
Yes.
college. And they were like scoping out their dorm rooms. William and Mark having an argument about how they have to move on from their childish comic book
So,
posters.
did
And
you
he's
feel
like, "I'm just gonna
attacked?
make a little bit. I'm gonna make you cool by comparison." And William explained if there is a sock on the door, go away.
Mm-hmm.
Mark goes to throw some stuff away. He sees there's a sock on the door, and he's like, "Already? What the fuck?" So he goes to Amber's room.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it so funny that someone who's just arrived at college sits there on his girlfriend's bed and goes, "Who has sex the first day of college?" That is so fun, especially when you know that Mark wasn't like trying a move. He was
No.
honestly asking the question.
Yeah. Completely oblivious.
100% completely oblivious. Um, and then they decide that they might partake, and the narrator's like, we'll leave them alone and we will look at other things.
Yeah.
At which point it becomes an Alan the Alien episode. So
Yes.
for those who maybe have forgotten from
Season
season one, they did a very good job of reintroducing him for anyone who had forgotten.
one. Mm-hmm.
He was the person that arrived to fight Earth's hero to make sure that they were safe from a Viltrumite attack. But he wasn't supposed to be going to Earth. He was supposed to be going to Urath the entire
Yep.
time. So it was really funny. But we got a little bit about his origin and where he came from.
Mm-hmm. We did.
So he was from a planet that got destroyed by the Viltrumites.
Mm-hmm.
Some refugees managed to escape and basically create a genetically enhanced version of their own race, which is Alan the Alien.
Yep.
And his entire purpose is to be strong enough to beat a
Yeah.
Viltrumite, and like be able to be as powerful and as dangerous as them, but on the coalition of planets side.
Mm-hmm.
And to cut a long story short, he ain't.
No, he's strong,
He
but
is, and he's very
not
likable.
he's not a Viltrumite.
No. So he gets told by like by fucking Optimus Prime. He got told by
Yes.
Optimus Prime. I've just remembered that. I sat there and I heard the voice.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that Optimus fucking
I
Prime?
knew
So I
straight
paused
away.
it and I looked at the actor. I was like, holy shit, is actually Optimus Prime.
I just
Really, really cool.
was hoping he'd say like, if he sent Alan off, he'd just say, right, roll out.
Autobots. Anyway, phenomenal. That got
Oh, yeah,
me
great
unnecessarily
choice.
hyped. Yeah. As superhero fans, we are never beating the keys jangling allegations. But when I heard Optimus Prime's voice, I got a lot more hype. But he basically informed Alan that there was a mole and to be on the
Yes.
lookout. And he's like, right, I won't go on patrol for a little while. I will find out what's happening. Which is hilarious because the idea of Alan being subtle is comedy.
When he said there was a mole, were you immediately suspicious of
Yes.
him? Yes. Okay.
100% instantly. I've watched enough of this style of content to know that he is, and also knowing that Alan's a bit of an idiot, he's the
Yep.
perfect person to say, because Alan's brain will be, well, you've told me there's a mole, so it can't be you.
Yeah. But like, I'm just like, his physique and look, I'm like, he gives me Viltrumite.
Or at least, like, he's got some sketchy deal going on to try and keep people safe.
Nah, he's definitely Viltrumite.
If they were going to get any voice actor to be a secret Viltrumite, person who was Optimus Prime is a fucking brilliant choice. Now, I'm sure people who read the comics weren't surprised by that, or have read all of the comics
Yeah.
weren't surprised by this. But yeah, very, very cool decision. We then meet his girlfriend,
Oh yeah,
and they
yeah.
have a very weird encounter.
Yeah, then we get the narrator going, okay, we can't watch this then.
Yeah, it's when her tentacles start to like envelop him, and he's like, "Oh, that's tentacles. Let's go and see Mark and Amber. They'll be done by now." And then you just see fucking Amber grabbing another condom. It's like, a cat.
Yeah, it just doesn't know what to do.
So then we cut to Alan and his girlfriend essentially having dinner,
Yeah.
and three Viltrumites attack
Yeah, they rock up.
the
And
the space restaurant they're at.
yeah.
And basically they're trying to interrogate Alan about, is Nolan still on Earth? Is it true he left
Mm.
his post? Is it true he has a son? Is it true the son stood up against him? Just like,
All the information that he'd recently given to a certain older gentleman who asked him to
yeah,
look for a mole.
yeah. Which I think
Guess
was just part of the plan of getting him to stay close by.
yeah. But also then he gets his ass beat.
Yeah, he puts up a good fight. I'll give him that. But I think it's
Resilient.
one of these ones where, I've discussed that in the MCU, I think they're building Kang up just so Doom can crush him. And
Mm-hmm.
then everyone goes, "Oh shit, Doom is terrifying because we've been scared of this guy and he's made him look like nothing."
Mm.
Everyone knows like Alan was quite powerful. It was a good fight. Everyone knows how strong he is. They've used early parts of this episode to show how strong he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then these Viltrumites like don't even try.
Yeah, he just gets absolutely destroyed.
Yeah. He was fighting for his life. They were sparring.
I
It
wasn't even
was
fighting, I was just taking it.
yeah. It was actually kind of rough to watch just because of
Yeah.
how like, especially of how like Seth Rogen as Alan the Alien's a brilliant choice. It's like Seth Rogen's voice is just like a funny voice because of like the way he talks.
Yeah.
Um and it was just really brutal. And I like we know Alan isn't dead,
Mm.
but I thought he was for a second there.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, he could be dead here, or they're gonna do some sci-fi space shit and they can just about keep him alive.
Yeah. Um so we find out that Alan's been kept alive. Your Lord Chancellor Palpatine Optimus Prime dude, I forget his name, basically then says sorry to him while he's in his comatose state.
Mm.
At which point, what anyone who's read the comics and anyone who's watched a lot of this style of media went, yeah, okay, cool. Thank you for
Yeah.
confirming that you're the bad guy,
Yeah.
or at least in league with the bad guy. And then we cut back to Mark,
Yes.
going back to his dorm room, and he gets interrupted by Seance Dog, his favorite comic book character.
Who's a comic book character, not real.
Yeah. So naturally, Mark, who's been struggling a lot recently with like, his dad being a psycho
Mm.
and not knowing how to act as a hero anymore, but still wanting to be a hero, was less than thrilled by
Yeah,
this
I'm
fictional
very
character
on
appearing.
edge. Is like, what the fuck are you?
Yeah, who are you? What do you want? Who sent you? How do you know who I am? Valid questions.
Yes, very. Why are you pretending to be an imaginary dog that doesn't exist?
Yeah. So he kind of kicks his ass, but like lightly,
Mm.
until they're far enough away from the college. At which point he's like, "Right, tell me everything now." And it turns out that it's actually an alien who's like a praying mantis kind of species.
Yeah,
They're buggy.
yeah, I would say
Um,
praying mantis.
And they're basically like, the legends of Invincible have made it to our planet. We need your help. Now, Mark should have first and foremost gone, well, how did you work out Invincible is Mark Grayson and who Mark Grayson's favourite comic book character is, you fucking weirdo? That would have been a valid question.
That would have been a valid question.
Um,
That the viewers
but
should also have been asking.
yes. And Mark's like, no, I can't leave the Earth. I've got college. I've got stuff to do here. Good luck, but I'm sorry, I can't help. At which point, William's like, no, you have to go help. You know you're going to kick your own ass if you don't.
Yeah.
So he goes to talk to Amber about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the thing that's got me pissed off with the internet the most.
Okay.
So, obviously, you didn't watch Invincible when it first came out.
No.
During season 1, Amber got a lot of hate.
Okay.
Because, you know, she held Mark accountable for, like, lying to her and not telling her what was going on constantly. But as with everything where, like, the main characters are men and, you know, it's a male mainly fandom, a lot of people are just like, no, he's the cool super dude. You just got to put up with it. You should be happy you're dating a superhero who is terrible towards you at times. Whereas this time, obviously, Mark goes and talks to her, and she's like, yeah, of course, no worries. You've told me what's going on. Go, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, oh, look, what a character shift from Amber. They clearly just want us to like her. And it's like, no, he was just honest and upfront.
Yeah, he's done the correct thing now.
She knows he's a superhero. She knows he might have to do this stuff. She just wants to be in the fucking loop.
Yeah. I don't get why I didn't realize people were so dumb to get that.
Yeah, conversations on the internet always out the people who've never been in a relationship and sure as shit don't know what a healthy relationship looks like.
I don't understand. Communication is key.
Yeah. Like, she doesn't have an issue with him being a hero, otherwise she would have dumped him the second she found out he was a hero. Her issue is not being told what the fuck's going on and him disappearing for weeks at a time.
Yeah. Her issue is lying, which is a pretty valid thing to have an issue
100%. 100%. At which point Mark's like, awesome, you're the best. Can you tell my mum? Which is hilarious. And then he gets in the ship to fly away to this planet. And we arrive at a planet that we've been told is having meteors falling from the sky and everyone's dying. And it looks a little bit too
pristine.
Like paradise.
Yeah, it's too flourishing.
Yeah, for that to be the case. And this is when it gets really funny because Mark's like, what about the problem?
Said, there was some meteors.
Yeah. No. And the guy's like, what problem? He's like, the reason you brought me, the meteors. He's like, oh, those meteors. We have a really short lifespan. That must be a touch of dementia. That's really funny.
He's just like,
either way you're going to try and play that off is like, sorry, like I've aged like 20 years since we met. That's dementia setting in. Very, very funny.
At this point, no. I'm like, this is a trap, and Mark's stuck on a planet. Yay.
And then he's like, the royal family want to meet you. He's like, yeah, cool. He sees the royal family at the top of the stairs. He kneels down. They part ways. And then you just hear Nolan's booming voice. Hello, son. Fucking cut.
Yeah.
What a stunning end to an episode.
Oh, yeah, because at that point, I was like, this planet's not, something's going on here. He's been thrown into trap. Wasn't expecting it to be Nolan.
I'm just so happy to say we live in a world where J. Jonah Jameson and Optimus Prime's booming voices were pleasuring my ears within the same episode. Like, what a time to be alive. And that's basically where episode 4 kicked straight off of.
Yeah, it did.
Was there anything? Yeah, no. So this is where we're at with episode 4.
Yeah.
So
the only other thing in episode 3 was there was the stuff going on with his mum.
Oh yes.
She called that number that
Red Rush's wife had left her.
Olga or whatever she's called.
Olga. Yeah, that's it.
Um, essentially therapy for people that are
Yeah,
partners of
it was.
superheroes.
Yeah, it was a support group for partners of superheroes, which of course needs to be super secretive and super safe because of the natural dangers that go along with it.
Yeah.
And now that all of their partners are seemingly dead because of like the nature of the support group,
Mm-hmm.
if their identity does get leaked and someone wants to take revenge, there's no one to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So then she goes to this film. Obviously, doesn't really want to talk straight off.
yeah,
People talk about their experiences. Then she chats to a certain fellow who is revealed to be the husband of um which I forget which one now.
yeah, it was the it wasn't the Martian, it was the Green Lady. I forget what her name was.
Yeah.
The green something. Um, Now I think, although I understand his emotions in this situation, that he is a
Mm-hmm.
dick for more than just his reaction,
Yes.
and I'm going to explain why. Because it is said very explicitly, you do not say what your name is, other than your first name,
Mm-hmm.
and you do not say who your partner is.
Mm-hmm.
He breaks both these rules,
Yep. He does.
and
And
then
I'm
gets
like, I don't like this
angry at
guy.
her. Yeah, and then gets angry at her for what her husband did.
Yeah.
When she clearly, it's not like she's there like, oh, when he comes back, he's going to take over this planet and I'm going to be the queen.
Yeah, it's him breaking the rules. Like she wasn't gonna say anything. He's the one who then made it an unsafe space,
Yes,
not her, for being there because of who she was a wife to. Um,
exactly.
yeah, dick move by him.
100%.
Though I
These
saw it
these
coming.
therapy and these therapy and group spaces are designed to be safe spaces.
Mhm.
You making it unsafe and then blaming the other person is weird as fuck.
Yeah, and I wonder if he's gonna get what comes to him, or he's gonna do something. He's gonna try and out her or something.
Yeah, probably.
Um, Also, Mark's mum went to see Cecil
Yes.
and saw a certain right hand man who she watched blow up,
Yeah.
who he had no idea and was very confused.
Yeah. He was
And
like,
that's
why did Debbie seem so shocked to see me?
yeah, and then that's all we get
Ooh.
of that. It leaves just a little thing there for us to stew
Yeah.
on.
No, a little breadcrumb. Now they want to thicken up that sauce, so they're putting some cornstarch in it, you know. Um, and then in episode 4, we get a lot of
Yes,
resolution stuff.
we do.
Um, so Mark is on this planet, obviously confronted by his father,
Mm-hmm.
unsure how to proceed.
A lot of tension.
So yeah, that scene where like they're like both kind of like shuffling a little bit and they're both like clenching their hand a little bit and you don't know how they're going to quite react. I'm just there like, this is so intense and I genuinely couldn't tell you what way it's going to go.
What I thought was interesting, like I straight away I'm like, yeah, I'm not surprised Mark's ready to like punch the man. But like as soon as I see Nolan clenches his fist, I'm like, oh shit, this is a trap. He's just gonna beat him up again. Like I was like, oh, he's not even gonna like try and be a changed man, or this is just he's lured him here to beat him up. And then Mark hugs him, to which I don't think Nolan knew how to respond really.
Well, it's really interesting because when that happens, like there is a couple of frames where like Mark's gone in for the hug
Mm.
and Nolan's hand is up here because
Yeah,
he
he
thought
like
he was lunging to attack.
yeah.
Because you got to remember, he's Viltrumite. They don't really do
No.
hugs.
No.
That's not really their thing.
No, it's not.
Um, And the revelations just keep coming. We get a lot, and I mean a lot, of fuck
Mm,
yous from Mark. Fuck you, fuck this, fuck everything
yeah.
you stand for, etc., etc. All such a based and real reaction, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Like, even if you take like the superhero element out of it, it's like finding out your father is like, I don't know, a spy from a fascist country.
Yeah.
I imagine finding out your father is a Russian sleeper agent,
Yeah.
and he's like, now we must take over the government, and you're like, hold the
No.
fuck on. The government might be shit, but I'm not sure we're equipped to do a better job.
Yeah. Then he runs
um,
away, and then within 6 months, he's got a new wife, a new kid, and wants
yeah,
your help.
yeah, it's just wild. Like, he introduces her to the wife, and he's like, the fuck, you've replaced mum already. This is weird. And then we get
Yeah.
that really uncomfortable scene of Nolan making out with the bug lady.
Yeah, I saw it coming and I was like, this is gonna be weird.
Yeah.
Bit
And
too
don't get me
much
wrong, he's like, from Nolan's point of view, I guess it is no weirder than him sleeping with,
human.
yeah, sleeping with Debbie.
Yeah.
But at least they're humanoids. So, like, it doesn't seem different.
Yeah, I'm like, we see that and it's just like, we know he's not genuine. Like, oh, he's not, or at least from what we've previously experienced of what we went through in season one, we're now obviously of the attitude of like, well, this is probably all a lie as well.
Yeah. Which is exactly what Mark's reaction is.
Yeah.
And then we get the massive reveal that they have a son,
Little purple boy.
which gives us potentially my favorite ever title card moment.
What the?
Invincible title card, and then it cuts back, and it doesn't even like do it normally does, but it cuts like to a slightly different
Yeah.
part. It's like a, what the fuck is going on? What do you mean you've got a son?
Yeah. I was just like, the funny thing is as well, it's like it cuts not at a point when they're about to say invincible either. I'm like, what the I was like, no, they've done this because he's about to say, and then it cuts back and he just goes, fuck. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yep.
And it's really interesting because like Mark is just so blinded by his anger at his father
Mm,
that he stops caring about genuinely innocent people for a little while there.
yeah, he does.
Which like again shows that he's human and flawed. He isn't like the perfect hero like a
Hmm.
Superman who's always going to be like, no, protect the innocent no matter what.
Yeah.
Um, which is I think what's so compelling about Mark's character. Um, but it's really interesting as he's like, you've asked me to come out here and help, but you've clearly been sleeping with this woman for ages because that child is too old to have been like since you left.
Yeah.
And then we find out Nolan's, I mean, kind of a nonce because these creatures live for a year and he's got a wife.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a
So,
grey area, I guess, because they're technically in their lifespan the correct age, but to him,
Viltrumites live for thousands of years. These things live for a
does that
year.
not also make him a nonce for what he did on Earth? Then
It depends how old he is. I assume
he looks
probably
old.
yes. Yeah, I assume probably
He's
yes.
old, but not quite as old as Optimus Prime. If he's
I
also a Viltrumite.
assume I assume he probably is a fuck ton older than
Yeah,
Debbie,
but still,
but I do not know for sure.
yeah. But
Um,
anyway, yeah, they've had this kid within 6 months, and they age quicker, and so does this mixed.
yeah, so it's really interesting because we get to learn a little bit more about like the Viltrumites, and he's like, humans are close enough to us genetically that they don't view it
As a
as an
problem.
abomination, as
Mhm.
long as they can still hold their own in a fight like a
Mhm.
Viltrumite should be able to. He's like, however, this species is so different, they're going to view it as an abomination. And it would be execution for your brother and most of the planet just for like how
Mhm.
abhorrent it is in their eyes.
Mhm.
So not only are these aliens like colonizers, they're massive racists.
So Nazis.
Yes. Yeah, they are space
Space. They're
Nazis.
space Nazis.
Space Nazis. Yes, 100%. But it's interesting because we obviously find out that this species lives for about a year typically. And we know the Viltrumites live for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And then she's like, so the baby is aging a little bit slower. And is like clearly more humanoid, but has their skin tone. And I think it just shows how strong the Viltrumite genes are. Because
Yeah.
like Mark is basically as strong as a full-blown Viltrumite, and he's half human. And humans are like made of paper by comparison.
Yep.
And I do wonder if there's like more to this notion. Is there going to be a bunch of Viltrumites out there who are just horny as fuck that have gone around, spreading the
Crossbreeding.
seed like the Greek gods with all these exactly that crossbreeding, and then they form like their own army to fight the evil Viltrumite empire, and then only the Viltrumites who are like not racist get to chill and live in harmony.
So what we're saying is we need Alan to hook up with a Viltrumite.
So, I'm aware of something that happens.
Oh.
No, bad, very bad.
Oh.
And apparently, based on the people who've read the comics, Twitter is going to be insufferable when it gets to it in the show. Because it seems like they discover how potent Mark is with like Viltrumite DNA and how powerful he is. And they want to use him to breed a new like emperor. Yeah. Very, very not good. Yes. And people are already like, you're going to get these weirdos on the internet who are like, oh, I wouldn't have minded. So like that's not going to be a fun day on the internet when that happens because they're going to try and tell a serious story. But so I've got a feeling like this notion that Viltrumites going out and like becoming well-rounded individuals like Nolan is kind of doing.
Yeah.
And like learning to care about other races and then having children might allow like a couple of like Viltrumite and human Viltrumite and whatever to like be able to build enough of an mounting force that they can fight back, which I think would be quite cool to see. But it's really interesting because then it goes to absolute shit because Nolan's like, the Viltrumite's going to come, they're going to kill everyone. You have no way of really knowing how to get home, but I'll let you go if you really want to.
Yeah, he starts leaving. He's like,
oh, he's still manipulative as fuck. Like, he's trying to be better, but he's not being good.
He's just like, you don't know the way back. I'll find it. No, you won't. Well, oh well. And then he agrees. He agrees to go back. And
he's like, okay, so we've got to have a bit of time before they come and find us, and I'll train you, and then we'll be ready for them. And then they arrive
straight away. And then he's like, "No shit, we've run out of time."
Yeah. When we talk about how terrifying it is that the Viltrumite Empire views 3 Viltrumites as enough soldiers to destroy an entire planet.
Oh, I mean,
that's terrifying.
Well, this is like, to be fair, they arrived at the planet only looking for Nolan. They didn't know about the second baby, and they obviously didn't know Mark was going to be there. So really, they were going to destroy a whole planet for one Viltrumite who's just relinquished his post. So they were ready to go ham when they found out this full scope of the situation.
Yeah. So Mark basically is told to get his brother and stepmother to safety.
Yeah.
Which he does because he is still a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lucian finds them and starts kicking the absolute snot out of him.
Yeah.
Which was brutal and rough to watch. And he was talking his shit the entire time. And he was like, because you're close enough, if you can survive this, we'll accept you.
Yeah, you'll prove yourself.
Yeah. But if you don't, you will be dead. So maybe fight back. And there's something so evil about that kind of taunting. It's like, you've got greatness pumping through your veins because of us. fight back and show us that it was worth it. Otherwise, we would literally kill you. It's just crazy. And then Nolan comes to the rescue and like rips the man's intestines out of his stomach.
Yeah.
And leaves him to die because that's what happens when someone's intestines get ripped out. They die.
Well, he rips him out and pins him against the wall with a rock through him.
Yes.
And you'd think, okay, he's dead. That's fair. He slumps and it's like, okay, that's one down, 2 to go.
Yeah. So then Nolan tells his wife and child to go deeper into the cave so they'll be safe. He's like, come on, Mark, there's 2 more. Let's go fuck them up. And that doesn't exactly go great. They start getting the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Nolan's doing okay. But he is still
not.
fighting another very powerful Viltrumite who's like not easy. And Mark is getting the ever-loving shit kicked out of him by the woman with like a knife hair thing. I'm trying to work out if that's just like a haircut Viltrumites can get, or if she actually has a blade woven into her
No,
hair.
I think she's basically got like a braid, and then at the end of the braid, they've just whacked in a knife there and just tied it in.
How much cooler would it be if Viltrumite hair, when grown that long, is that fucking sharp?
Oh, it just like solidifies and becomes like steel.
Yeah,
it would be, but
kind of cool.
I do think it's just an added weapon.
Yeah, probably. And then we get like an inverse of the meme from season 1, where Nolan's beating the shit out of Mark. He's like, "Think, Mark, think. What happens when they're all dead?" Which is obviously become a big meme.
Yeah.
And then Nolan's like, "There are no civilians here to get hurt. I know you don't like killing, but guess what? If you want to live, you're gonna have to fucking kill. Get over yourself. Stop thinking. Just do."
Yeah, he's like, Mark's like, "I don't kill," and he's like, "Well, tough shit. They're gonna kill you, so you need to fight like you're gonna kill."
Yeah. And then like Mark starts laying the fucking smack down on this woman.
He gets beat up a bit more, and then it kind of clicks, and he goes, "Well,
But he
I
sees
don't
all the
want to
dead bodies in the
die."
background.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, no, fuck you. You've killed a bunch of innocent people for no reason."
Yeah, he has that like his inner Viltrumite comes out in full force, and he just starts going ham. And this
proper.
The female one's just like, "Oh shit, this isn't good."
But it's funny because she's not even like, "This isn't good." She's like, "Finally, a challenge."
Yeah.
Because these Viltrumites are fucking nutcases.
Just don't have huge egos on them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, when your entire culture is based on the idea of once
You
you're
are
like
the superior
an adult,
race.
yeah, you're an adult, we're gonna try and kill you. If you manage to not die, guess what? You get to live. Like, that breeds like the psychos, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nolan crushes your man's skull.
Yeah, and he's still alive. Like, oh.
Yeah, fucking eye bulging out. At first, I was like, because I was like backwards and forwards, I missed what he did. I was like, the fuck did Nolan just do to him to do that to his head? So I went back and he was like, and I was like,
yeah.
But Mark hesitates.
He does.
And gets gutted.
Yeah, gets stabbed in the gut.
Yeah. At which point Nolan comes over.
Yeah.
And does what I can only say needs to be added into MK1 as a brutality straight away.
Just grabs her by the hair.
Yeah. Grabs her by the hair and uses it to whip her into his knee and just disintegrates her jaw.
Yeah.
Like, do that with like Scorpion, or is it Sub-Zero that also has the chain and does like the get over here? Like, have a brutality where you catch the chain and you fucking yeet them into his knee. Because that was brutal. And then Nolan, the fucking psycho, is like, "You alright, son?" He's like, "No," while his guts are being like bleeding out. He's like, "You'll be fine. We won."
But we should also point, like, this shows how strong Nolan is, even as a Viltrumite.
They were a little bit concerned about Nolan. They were like, "You're Nolan's son. You should be really, really scary."
Yeah, like clearly he is one of the strongest ones if he is 100%. Known. So, I mean, Mark, to when he let go of his want to not kill them, was showing some of that. Shows that, oh damn, he's scary, strong, and if he actually was full potential.
Yeah, 100%. At which point, the first Viltrumite they killed about 10 minutes ago
Yeah.
comes flying out of nowhere, holding his intestines.
Yeah, with their like clothing, he's just like holding them up.
Yeah, which was grim. He just like curb stomps Nolan's lower spine and like
Yeah. Essentially
paralyzes him.
I imagine he essentially has like snapped his spine, but I presume Viltrumites have like a pretty strong healing factor or something.
I assume so.
So I
But
imagine
like
he would heal, but it's just like a pretty
tem-
devastating blow for now.
temporary paralysis.
Yeah.
Um At which point he then just fucking dies. Like he lands this blow to like paralyze Nolan, and then he just falls over and dies.
I reckon he's
Like
not dead.
the amount of hatred Viltrumites have is
Hmm.
crazy. Like it fuels them in a way I didn't know was possible.
Yeah, I mean, he had to complete his mission, even if it means he just dies a bit later.
Yeah, 100%. One thing we did skip over was before the second half of that fight started,
Mm.
Nolan grabbed Mark by the throat after seeing all the civilians dead, and he was like, "Why do I care?"
Yeah, he has this weird moment. It's like, why am I feeling this way?
Yeah, why am I angry that all of these people are dead?
I'm not supposed to feel this. And it's like, because you're becoming a normal person.
And I think it goes to show that Viltrumites aren't inherently like
Mm.
superiority
Well,
complex. It is fully a cultural thing.
they weren't originally, were they? They like it became a thing that changed in them.
Uh, It's
So,
almost like if you let a group of people who are fueled by hatred control everything, that hatred spreads and spreads until
mm,
people think it's normal. I'm sure
but
glad that isn't a metaphor for anything for people to be paying attention to.
uh,
Um,
but then
um,
a ship rocks up, Viltrumi's ship.
yes,
You see them taking the Viltrumites that had arrived away on stretchers,
yeah,
probably going to get them healed up, the ones that can
I
be.
f- yeah. And Nolan like also on a
Getting,
stretcher.
yeah, getting put in a stretcher with like essentially cuffed up and restrained. And
Yeah.
then,
At which point Nolan is screaming at Mark. Remember the good I did. Remember the books I
uh-huh,
wrote. Read my books, Mark.
yeah,
Now, I'm no superhero. If I was put in that situation and my
hmm
dad's like, read my books, I'm going to assume there's some secrets in there, some hints and tips to how to beat a Viltrumite empire.
yeah, something tells me there's like certain ways he fights or something in these books that essentially would train him on techniques.
Or like there's like secrets to the universe that he's disguised as fiction,
Mm,
but they're actually fact. Like
hmm
these books, if this was Star Wars, he's telling Mark where the holocrons are. Like it's like,
yes.
go look over there. That's what you need.
Yeah, there's
Um,
clearly something in there hidden.
yeah, 100%. And I've got a horrible feeling that Mark's not going to do anything about it in the next episode, but is going to nearly read a book a couple of times, and we're going to be like, read the
Yeah,
goddamn
he's
book,
gonna like
Mark.
pick it up to read, but then it's like something distracts him.
Yeah,
And then a Viltrumite comes over to Mark and tells him, "All right, you fought well enough. You can go back to Earth and get Earth ready. We'll be on to check on you. And if you don't do that, we'll just destroy you all anyway."
yeah. It's such a wild like conversation. It's like, congratulations, you aren't so shit that you have to die today.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, your father is going to be executed for treason. You are now taking over his job. We know that you probably don't want to, but you're going
tough
to,
luck.
because if you do it, maybe you can do it with only killing a couple 100,000 people. If we have to come and do it, we will kill millions.
Well, yeah, we'll just destroy the planet.
Yeah. You make your decision.
Were you also in this point where you're like, how's he gonna get home?
Yes. They have absolutely left him there with no way to get home in quite a bad situation. I don't know if that's partially them just like, this is his final test to see if he can actually be an Ultramite. If he can't survive this situation and get back to his post, he was never going to be enough to take
Yeah.
it on anyway.
Their attitude is, well, if he doesn't make it back to his post, we destroy Earth. Anyway, and they don't care enough. So.
You reckon Viltrumite UFC goes hard?
Yeah. Because it'll be fight to the death.
Yeah, it'd be fucking brutal. You just know that shit sells out on pay-per-views on Viltrum.
Well, they'll do the whole like prisoners probably have to fight 1v1 to prove that they are worthy of being allowed to live.
What do you get sent to prison for in the Viltrumite Empire, Hori?
Leaving your post.
What do you think in the Viltrumite Empire does not end in either, oh my god, you're so brutal that you get a promotion, or oh my god, you're such a pussy, you're going to die now? Like, I don't see anything that fits in the in-between there.
I don't know.
Surely everything is either the death penalty or, oh my god, that was totally rad.
You slept with my wife, now you must fight me to the death.
Yeah, that's still death penalty, though.
Oh yeah, it's always death penalty. But like...
the orange is just not worth it. But we're on a mid-season break now.
Yeah, we're left now with that situation.
Yeah, there was a couple of other little bits that took place.
Yeah, like obviously the ones at college have been like, well, he went away a week ago and we haven't heard of him.
Yeah. Debbie has said she doesn't want to collect the money from Nolan's books anymore because she thinks Cecil's just using it to try and keep a power over her.
Yes, basically she doesn't want the paycheck every month off of the Cecil
royalties.
Just to should rather make it on her own.
Yeah.
And I get the sense of maybe even moving house.
Yes. And Donaldson has also discovered that he died.
Yeah, it's obviously nagging in the back of his head and went and watched the tapes to what happened.
Yeah. So he cuts himself to make sure he bleeds.
He's like, I bleed.
Yeah, he's like, oh, thank God I actually bleed. And
Unreal.
then he looks at the knife he used, and there is a little chip at the top of it where it's bent out of shape.
Yeah.
If I saw that after like psyching myself out that I wasn't human, and then I'm like, oh, I can bleed, thank God. And then I see that, I don't know. Like,
well, there's two parts to it.
What is a healthy response to that?
Well, there's two parts to it. You look at that and you go, one, I had the strength to hit something with the knife that it caused the knife to then bend. But then it's like, that also means it hit something pretty solid that it shouldn't have done. And then he's called into a meeting room by Cecil, and it's
I don't know what that situation is.
Oh, I imagine it's something to do with the I don't know, maybe the Guardians or whatever.
But it's interesting because although I knew going into it was the last episode before they take a break until the new year, I was watching the end of that episode and I was like, oh, they really are doing like a end of this half of the season break here. Lots of cliffhangers, but people at like new stages of their journey.
Yeah.
I had no indication based on like, although I haven't read ahead in the comics, I know bits and pieces just from being chronically online. I had no indication that Mark was ever like forced into a position of having to be a Viltrumite sleeper agent. I'm really curious what this arc looks like.
I feel like he's now going to struggle with, do I try and protect the ones I care about by getting Earth to like agree or something? But then also at the same time, I think he's going to be like, or do I just train so I can beat them? And this is where we're going to see him like on the edge of like, does he become like his dad, or does he become a new breed of Viltrumites that are good?
Yeah, 100%.
Something else that also happened in this episode, which was like a complete random side thing. The fucking Mauler twins.
Yes.
He made a clone of himself, and he was like, They wake up and it's like, you're the clone. And then he goes, no, look at me. I am the original. And you think, oh shit, they broke the
cycle.
system.
And
Seems
then we
like
find out exactly why they can't break the system.
it seems like the system's probably been broken before, and when one of them gets an ego and thinks they're the leader, the other one hates them, so then kills them.
Yeah.
And the cycle begins again.
Yeah, 100%.
Which I actually really liked how they got out of that situation. Like
Yeah,
I was thinking,
it's
we're gonna end
genius.
up with he's like, I'm gonna make multiple clones and I can be the leader of you all. And you think, shit, this isn't gonna go well.
It's very, very funny though, like the way it works, in the sense of, we always found like it was a running joke in the first season that they don't know which one is the clone,
Yeah.
and therefore they like bicker. And now we find out that actually one of them knowing that they're the original is a much larger issue.
Well, it's like
And
they're
in reality,
incredibly
neither of
intelligent.
them
They're incredibly intelligent, but then as soon as one of them realizes they're the original, their ego just makes them dumb, essentially.
and in reality, neither of them are the original.
No.
Like the entire process of cloning is like the
They're
odds that the one
constantly
who isn't the original always dies
Yeah.
is 0.
Yeah, both of them are a clone of a clone of a clone. So
Crazy. It's crazy they don't have cancer more often as well, with all these like copying and pasting they're doing. You're just asking for a genetic mutation.
yeah. Well,
Should we
they're just so
talk
good.
about Iman Vellani?
Yeah, so I haven't seen this. So you're gonna have to fill me in.
So I've made no secret of the fact that Iman Vellani is very quickly becoming one of my favorite parts of
Yes.
the MCU. She loves the source material. She loves
Yeah.
the MCU itself.
Mm-hmm.
She is everything good about Marvel at the minute.
Yeah, the new generation.
Yes, both on screen and off screen.
Mm-hmm.
And the Marvels has had, by Marvel standard, a very poor box office.
Yeah.
It is still worth noting that it is the best performing film ever of a female black director.
There you go.
So, like, once again, showing that black female directors clearly aren't getting enough opportunities if something that is the biggest flop of the year, according to people, is also breaking records for progression. But basically, on one of her interviews, Iman was asked about how she feels about the project and its relatively poor box office.
Yeah.
To which Iman said, I don't know, that's not my job. Ask Bob.
Valid response.
She said, we turned up, we did the best job, the film is full of passion and love, I am happy with the end product we put out. I don't control the marketing and all that stuff. Talk to Bob Iger, that's his job to worry about.
Solid response.
Do you know how hefty a pair of metaphorical cojones you have to have? As someone who is, I believe Iman Vellani is younger than me, so like much younger than you.
Okay. Don't need that slide. We're not going to gloss over the fact that you just slid that in there then.
Iman Vellani is 21 years old. She was born on August 12, 2002. Yeah? Do you know how large a pair of cojones you have to, in your first feature film, for Disney,
to blame the CEO,
call out the CEO that openly?
Do you know what's funny?
I respect it so much.
Oh yeah, I feel like that was also a bit of a backhand thing of being like, well, go and ask him why he didn't make a deal quick enough, and we could have marketed this, and maybe it would have gone better. Oh, it's such a great response.
The internet is falling in love with Iman post this film. Imagine if she had 6 months of getting people to fall in love with her on talk shows.
If she'd done the press tour,
came out.
Yeah.
Come on, this film would have done so well. This film is really good. I'm not going to be gaslit by idiots who've left comments on our videos trying to tell us that this is a poor film. It's not. It's not Marvel's best film. This film is fucking fun.
Yeah,
and I will
and
take
I
fault.
think people will come over time will then realize, oh wait, that film wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a few films around this area of time that get negative responses off rip, and then in 3 or 4 years' time, or maybe even once the MCU does eventually die, are going to be like, we might have been too harsh on that film. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, if people are going to sit here and with a dead straight face try and tell me Amazing Spider-Man 2 is an actively good film,
it's
like,
also a generation. Like there'll be a generation that, as they get older, they'll be like, no, we enjoyed that film. Shut the fuck up.
at the end of the day, we had a superhero film starring a white woman,
Hmm.
a Muslim teenage girl, and a black woman,
Yep,
with the villain being a woman,
yep.
and they didn't need to make a big deal out of the fact that any of them were women in the marketing or anything
Hmm.
for that. Yeah,
Yep.
they were just like, no, this is a space road trip action film, and it was fucking awesome.
One of them committed war crimes
Yes, it was great. I loved it.
unknowingly.
It was so good. It was so good. Um, and I'm going to address the comment. We got a comment on our review of the film
Oh,
saying, you're clearly just selling out in the hope to get like better access. You're shilling.
I did see this.
Motherfucker. Motherfucker.
I wish
I'm
that
not
was the
being
case.
funny. I'm not being funny. Would we have any hope at this point with some of the shit we've said of shilling hard enough to get access?
I I think the only franchise that we could like have the best chance of getting access to is Star Wars. We've given
Yes.
Marvel shit, we've given DC shit.
Yeah.
Maybe Prime would be willing to give us access because we've actually raved about their shows.
Yeah. But I have called Jeff Bezos like a
Yeah,
number of expletive. And here's the thing, basically all these CEOs, I've personally used most swear words for them other than the C bomb. And that's just because that will get a video age restricted on YouTube and then we have like no chance of getting any views. But
yeah.
let it be clear, I do absolutely think they all are.
But I mean,
Like,
if anyone at Marvel is watching our stuff and wants to give us access,
yeah, if they want to give us access, it's fine. But accusing us of shilling for access is fucking comical.
it's yeah. People are just like, oh, you have an opposite opinion that is good.
Yeah.
You must be paid off or wanting to get paid off, and it's like, no,
We've this channel is 2 years old in like 19 days.
yeah,
We have not earned a penny from this in this that entire time. We do this because we love the stuff we're talking about and we love the opportunity to waffle about it for a couple of hours every
yeah,
week. The notion that we would change our opinions just to get better access when we're not getting any access as it is
yeah.
fucking comedy.
I mean, if people want to think that, they can think that.
It's hilarious. It just shows that someone has literally watched one video of ours ever and nothing else.
Yeah, they didn't go back about a week and saw us just rinsing Marvel when it was all going to shit.
Yeah, like craziness. But yeah, Iman Vellani with an absolute perfect response to being asked about the box office.
Yeah, I
It's,
love that. Such a good response.
even more so for this film because of the lack of her ability to market it because they're refusing to make a deal. Um, it's not the actor's job to make the film a success.
No,
You pay them to turn up and act in the film that you've written the script for, this, that, and the other.
they do
An
the best with the
actor,
material they're given. It's
yeah,
down to everyone else to polish that up properly.
exactly. And you can say what you want about the film, whether you think the script's weak or anything. You sure as shit can't say the actors didn't act well.
Mm,
In fact,
they did
I'd
their
say it
job.
might be some of the better acting we've seen in the MCU. Seemed less cheesy in places and more heartfelt.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, very very solid answer from Aman, and she continues to worm her way into my heart, and I just want her to be the face of the MCU going forward. To be honest,
I'm down for it.
right? Many news things to discuss, and we've probably missed some as well,
I'm
Nick.
sure
So
we have, but
I think all the major things are on here.
I think so. I
If
mean,
not, we always miss stuff anyway. Who cares?
yeah, it's the news.
Um, first and foremost,
Mm,
Nicholas Hoult, who
yes.
was up for Superman earlier this year,
Yes.
And a couple of years ago was up for the Batman, or
Yes.
Batman in Matt Reeves' The Batman.
Yep.
And famously lost out to Robert Pattinson, and your man who's got the role of Superman, whose name I haven't bothered to learn yet. Everyone was kind of like, Nicholas Hoult is going through his villain origin story right now, and they were right. He's been cast as Lex Luthor in Superman Legacy. I like Nicholas Hoult. Ironically, we did the Beast character profile earlier, and we were talking about X-Men First Class. He, of course, played Beast in X-Men First Class.
Yep.
He's a good actor. I like what he does. I think he can be a really good Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I'm down for it. I mean, if he channels his inner frustration with DC into this role, then he's fine.
Well, James Gunn, I think, is someone whose castings we trust.
Yeah.
And Matt Reeves is someone whose castings we trust. And they were so close to picking him for Batman and Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And then James Gunn is like, no, Lex. You can be Lex. I trust that 100%.
It's funny because it's like, obviously Lex is very jealous of Superman. For him to not get the Superman role and then now he is playing Lex kind of just helps him embody that a little bit.
Yes, exactly that. Now this is...
I don't know if I believe this yet.
So
I'll be disappointed if it is true.
Apparently Sony's universe, aka Venom, Kraven, Morbius, Madam Web, is apparently merging with the MCU in Spider-Man 4. Now, there's been a number of conflicting reports about this as to whether it is during Spider-Man 4 they get brought in, post Spider-Man 4, or we're just going to start Spider-Man 4 and assume that they've always been there.
So,
what I take this to mean is that Spider-Man 4 will be the last MCU Spider-Man film where these are not canon. And I don't think we are due to get Spider-Man 5 before the end of the multiverse saga. So what I take this to mean is, as a conclusion of the multiverse saga, when we get left with one universe, these characters are getting pulled into the MCU.
Yeah, see, my opinion is, well, technically these are already MCU. I mean, Venom.
Are they?
Well, Venom showed up in Spider-Man.
Yeah, and Vulture showed up in Morbius.
It's like they're already crossing those lines. They've just not officially said it yet. And I'm like, I'm fine if they're merging it in Spider-Man 4 is actually just the symbiote drop that was left. That storyline is developed a bit more in the next Spider-Man film. And they're like, oh yeah, so that means that Venom is canon. And like you say, maybe at the end of the multiverse shit, that's when it all gets merged and put into one.
I've got to be honest. I want the multiverse saga to conclude with a soft reboot. Where they get rid of anyone who wants out.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of start from scratch. I don't think that's what we're going to get, but it's kind of what I want to see. And I want them, before that happens, to make a deal with Sony where they can do all of the films for Spider-Man characters. Because if I have to see Sony take one more Spider-Man villain and turn them into a caricature of themselves, which doesn't even seem like them, I might lose my mind.
I'm okay if at the end of all this, them merging is just them taking Venom is now there. The world that they all were in is gone, so that's all the other ones are gone. Maybe some of the Madam Web stuff exists still. We don't know what that's like yet. But I'm happy if Kraven and Morbius are gone and we get a new Kraven.
It's so funny to me because everyone's like, oh, Disney and the MCU are making films woke. It's like, my brother in Christ, the only woke superhero film right now is Kraven, because this guy's a fucking vegan and doesn't hunt animals.
Do you know what I think will maybe happen? If these next Sony ones flop, put Marvel in the spot of being like, you can join our universe, but we're only going to take what we want.
Yeah,
And Sony's going to be like, yes, please. Please do. We can't do this anymore.
yeah. It's rough out there.
Yeah.
Slightly better news.
Yes.
Marvel has reportedly met with Mads Mikkelsen. I think I've mispronounced that.
Mikkelsen.
Mikkelsen. For the role of Victor Von Doom. Mads is a very interesting human.
Yep.
I've heard some crazy stories about him. All very nice, nothing concerning. Just he's a bit wacky. And I like him for this casting.
So do I.
I'm really curious what wacky stories we're going to get as a result of this, though, because my personal favourite is until he was cast in Rogue One, he had never watched anything Star Wars related, despite the fact that his brother Lars is the voice of Grand Admiral Thrawn. And is a
I'm
massive
so
nerd
ready
for
for him
Star
to be
Wars.
like, yeah, I don't know. It's
Who
like,
is Victor Von Doom? Is he a small character? Is he not
this is where he
important?
hears the name Doom and he thinks it's a film about the hip hop producer MF Doom.
MF Doom.
And he's like, oh, wait, this is a Marvel thing?
It's just, I like the casting. And he's a really good actor, man.
Yeah, he is.
People forget he was in Casino Royale. He was the bad guy in Casino Royale that like reinvented James Bond.
And I'm so ready for them to like maybe like we'd theorized they maybe were already doing, but like setting up Doctor Doom as like a bigger bad. It could be very good.
Now,
yes,
this is a very funny one. Robert Kirkman,
yep,
of Invincible,
yes,
has leaked that Stephen Yeun, who voices Mark Grayson, and was announced to be in the Thunderbolts movie coming next year or the year after, and everyone was assuming was playing the Sentry. Like that was the rumors. Like, oh, he's going to be the Sentry. Robert Kirkman just confirmed it. And it happened in the funniest way. So they were talking on like some kind of live stream podcast thing or something.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, yeah, I got a text from Stephen one day. And he was like, sorry, I ran a little bit late today. I was doing a fitting for the Sentry. And he was like, have they announced that yet? I don't know if they've announced that yet. Fuck it. I don't work for them. What are they going to do? Tell me off?
I love that attitude. It's like
chaos. I love it so much.
Prime ain't gonna get rid of me for like Disney has no power over like telling Prime to get rid of me or anything. So what are they gonna do? Punish me?
Yeah, but I don't work for them. I don't give a fuck. And I don't even think it was like deliberate. I don't even think he was like paying enough attention to know if it had been announced or not.
No, I think I was
knowledge.
Genuinely, he just thought it was probably already announced.
It's one of them things where you've known something for a while, you assume it's public knowledge.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Oh yeah.
Just
it happens all the time.
Would you like to take this next one, Hurry? I know how much it means to you.
Some of the greatest news for a long time. And honestly, why this hasn't happened sooner, I don't know. But Dave Filoni has been promoted to the Chief Creative Officer, I think is his title. Essentially, he's the new George Lucas. Let's just be real. God. He has the final say on all the creative direction, and essentially will probably be running and controlling what gets told in Star Wars.
However, he has said that he's not going to tell people what to do.
I think he won't tell them what to do, but he'll tell them if they're doing something wrong.
I think he will help them Filoniify everything. Now, I didn't realize until recently, there's a large portion of Star Wars fans who do dislike Dave Filoni.
Oh, I don't even know that.
Yeah. I don't really know if they're like Star Wars fans or if they just like enjoy different nerd media and they check in Star Wars sometimes and they're like, I really don't like this Filoni dude or what.
They probably wrongly associate Filoni because he's under Disney. They probably think the Disney trilogy was his.
Yeah, I don't know. But I know, like, us and our friends are all very
Yeah.
excited for this.
Oh yeah.
This is a big
It's
Poggers moment.
my attitude is we won't have an issue. Hopefully, this now means we don't have an issue of the Disney trilogy again,
Yeah.
where there's creative problems, clashes, stories get messed up, dumb decisions story wise are made that make it difficult to explain into the canon. One specific line comes to mind. um, and I think this is also Dave now has the power to make his life easier when he's trying to fix things, because hopefully he doesn't
100%.
have to fix as many mistakes.
You got to fix the problems before they're problems.
Yeah, so I think it's genuinely a good thing for Star Wars.
And I think there was a genuine concern that after his Mando arc and the Mando film, there was a genuine concern that maybe he would move on from Star Wars and go on to do different things.
Yeah,
So I guess this is kind of confirmation that he's not going anywhere for the foreseeable, which
part
is
of me
nice.
thinks like because we know George Lucas was on set on Ahsoka a few times, and like we know he goes regularly and chats with George and they talk about Star Wars and stuff. Why do I feel like George just told Disney was just like, right, I'm done. I want to step back more. You have to put Dave Filoni in charge. He knows what he's doing. I trust him to run the ship that is Star Wars. That is my terms and agreement. And I feel like George Lucas maybe made it happen. But all good things.
Um, so that concludes the stuff that was strictly last week news. So that's all probably old, and you
Yes.
might already know it. And if
Yeah.
not, it just shows how important it is. So you should like and subscribe.
This is true.
Um, Now for stuff that's more new news.
Mm.
First look at the Fallout series due to come out April 12th on Prime Video. It looks good.
I will say, because I was going into this very cautious due
Yes,
to,
especially after that AI poster.
yeah, and like just, we know, like the track record of video game to shows isn't great. There's been like the one exception of The Last of Us.
Yes.
Um, so Fallout, it was like, this could get messed up.
Yeah.
The set and all the costume and prop and all the visual effect, practical effects
Power armor.
look really good, and like makeup on some of the characters and stuff. They've also, I think it's confirmed that the story is going to be canon to the Fallout world. It is not anything from Fallout 3. Uh, and I think it maybe is set around the same timeline as Fallout 4 and 76's stuff, but it is going to be its own separate thing.
It looks really good. The one that really sells it for me is the ghoul that we see in the
Yes.
pictures looks really good. Or at least I think they do anyway. And I'm very,
Oh, that
very
was it.
excited
I
to see how it
saw there
goes.
was a thing from Todd Howard. Apparently, when this was first like being ideated, they came to him with, "Oh, there's like these stories in Fallout 3." Apparently, he said to them, "Was like, no, we've done those stories. They don't need
Unique
doing."
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that he's had some say as well over the story gives me a bit more confidence that okay, maybe the story is going to be good.
Yeah. If you want to use RIP, tell a unique story.
Yeah. So
Makes sense.
it has potential, and with the way Prime's been doing, like I kind of, I'm willing to give them a bit more leeway and hope.
No, we talk a lot on here about how different brands can not buy because we're shit. Actually, no, it is buy because we're shills. They can buy goodwill by consistently releasing good products, and they can burn through that by releasing shit products.
Yeah.
And right now, I think Amazon is doing just fine. Their balance is nice and healthy with me.
Yeah.
The boys, Gen V, Invincible, all looking very good. Fallout is a world that, while I didn't play a lot of the games, I
No.
poured an ungodly amount of hours into Fallout 4.
See, I'm not been a
And
big Fallout person, so I mean, I won't
it,
know much of the.
But that might be the best way to go into it. I
Yeah,
mean,
I do think so.
I think it's always interesting when you're trying to do such a big project like this. Not enough people in the world who played Fallout 4 and want a Fallout, played Fallout and want a Fallout TV show makes sense for this show to exist. It needs to be able to span beyond that.
Mm,
So hopefully, like, the show gives you enough to like make it worth it.
yeah.
Apparently, we're also getting an explanation of the Pip Boy as well.
Mm,
So
it could be interesting.
yeah, we
Yeah.
will we'll see how that goes. Now this is something that's very exciting.
Yes.
Hayden Christensen, famously Anakin Skywalker in the prequels and more recently in stuff like Ahsoka,
Mm,
has signed with IAG, which is a very large talent agency, which would lead a number of people in the know to believe that he's making a return to his acting career outside of Star Wars.
yes.
So for a long time, he did try and continue to be an actor after Star Wars, but because of people perpetually being weird, didn't get many opportunities.
Yep. So then took a step away.
And yeah, I think how great the last few years have been for him personally in finding out that people do love and respect him for
Yeah.
what he did for their childhood, I think has kind of reinvigorated his love of acting, and it seems like he wants to be considered for more stuff again.
Yeah, I think he'd been coming back and doing stuff for Star Wars. And that obviously he has the direct line to them and doesn't need an agent and probably was willing to do that stuff because it's Star Wars. And then like over this last year, I would say, in that convention where everyone was showing him love and he kind of, I think that's all he's realized. Oh shit, I do have fans that actually love my work. Those people that hated on me years ago are probably old now and don't care what he's doing. The fans that actually care about me are here watching my stuff. And then he's like, I loved Ahsoka. He's probably had a lot of fun doing Ahsoka and these different things that he's like, maybe I put the feelers back out there and see if there's roles for me to play in. So it'll be cool. I'd love to see like him and Ewan McGregor on a completely different project.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. That'd be really cool.
But yeah,
Right. Now Bob Iger's done an interview. I don't know what the interview was for, but things about the interview are all over my timelines, and we're going to talk about them and maybe take the piss out of him.
most likely take the
We
piss
will
out.
see. Yeah, exactly.
It's Bob Iger.
So basically, what we've got is,
Mm,
he was asked questions now that Disney isn't struggling to exist
yeah,
because they've sorted out their striking.
yes.
And the three big takeaways from whatever these interviews were about seem to be, they don't want to just make sequels. He said they've made a lot of sequels, and he's not saying they're going to stop making sequels, but what they want to do is only make a sequel if they think the story is worth telling.
Mhm.
Why the fuck weren't you doing that in the first place, Bob?
Because they thought sequels
Money.
printed money.
Yeah. They're going to go for a quality over quantity approach going forward. Why the fuck weren't you doing that in the first place, Bob? And he thinks that certain people have lost sight of their jobs. They are here to entertain, not give a moral message. Bob Iger has accused his own company of being too woke. That's what's happened. And I just want to reiterate my previous point. Disney have always told messages and given messages about morality.
Yeah. The only thing they lost sight of
films are.
is making entertaining stories.
Yes. Kids' films, kids' products, kids' TV shows have always had morality baked into it. Like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and shit didn't just tell stories that they thought were groundbreaking stories. No, they taught kids about sharing and being nice to one another and this and that and the other. What the fuck are we talking about, Bob? Just say you dislike having to hire women and people of colour as main people in your films. Because that's what he means. Let's be 100% honest. Bob Iger is
Do you
sick
know?
of feeling like he has to hire people of color, women, people who are LGBT plus
Do you know what
to
this actually
be in
feels
his
like?
films.
When you think about these answers, that looks like whoever's like prepped him on answers, obviously his PR team, because they'll have roughly like usually in these situations like they're given rough questions that will come up and they're prepped on answers and stuff. These all feel like things Twitter shouts about at Disney. Like,
Yes,
we
100%.
want better stories. We are sick of the quantity over quality. Disney's getting too woke. Obviously, like, whether you agree with these,
100%.
but like, this just feels like he's just taking the things that people are angry about, saying them now back like they're things they're dealing with to sound like he's saying the right things to Twitter.
100%.
And it's like,
100%.
it just comes across as you've just made it look like you didn't know what the fuck you were doing. Didn't he try to blame it on the old CEO when he stepped away for
Yes.
a bit? And it's
He
like,
he he said in one, he was like, I really wasn't happy what happened in my absence, and I'm going to try and distance myself from that.
yeah, it's like, okay, so you're blaming someone else. You're now trying to blame Disney for the decisions they made and not make it. It's like, it's almost like he's trying to distance himself from how it's been run when it's like, well, no, you're just
Yeah.
making out like you've just done a shit job at running the company.
Yeah, 100%.
And now Twitter's got loud enough that you want to listen.
It's exactly that. It's exactly that.
Man really wants to sell to Apple, doesn't he?
100%. And more where Twitter's kind of the focus here. The boys have announced a new spin-off, currently called The Boys Mexico, with Diego Luna from Andor apparently set to produce and potentially star in it.
Okay.
So here's the problem that a lot of people have.
Mm-hmm.
The Boys has kind of been poking fun at the MCU the whole time.
Yep.
And all of the films and spin-offs they do was a butt of the joke a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're going into season 4 of The Boys.
Mm-hmm.
The producer has said he thinks they can do loads more seasons of The Boys. They've got the Gen V spin-off, which has already been confirmed for a second season. They're announcing another spin-off with a rumor that more spin-offs are coming.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, the satire has stopped satiring, and it's just becoming a lack of self-awareness.
I feel like they are aware of what they're doing, though.
So here's the funny thing that always happens. So we obviously want to consume media, and me and you, with the way we are inclined, like that media to take the piss out of big companies and the right wing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now we'll sit here and we'll laugh because, like, oh yeah, Vought are the big evil corporate bad guys, and Amazon are the big evil corporate bad guys, and they're promoting them jokes themselves. But then we sit here and we watch it for 15 seasons across 3 different spin-offs, and they've made all this money, and we've not actually done anything to stop them being the big evil corporation.
Yeah, but it's good show.
Yeah, and this is the problem.
Here's the thing. Like, I have no issue with them becoming like a bit like what they have poked fun at with the MCU. Like having a big multiple seasons of The Boys and then start having spin-offs like Gen V having multiple seasons, and if they start doing these things like The Boys Mexico or whatever. I'm not against it as long as it all stays the same quality. If they start doing what Marvel did where the quality started dropping off because they were doing too many things, then I'll be pissed at them.
Yes, 100%.
Like if we get another cracking spin-off like Gen V, yeah, I'm all for it. Give me more. I don't care.
It's this thing where it's just like, as long as it's good, I'm probably
Because
fine.
because then they'll start making fun. If they're self-aware enough, they'll go, look, guys, this is what happens when you do a like big franchise properly. Unlike the MCU.
It's an interesting one.
I look forward to their mock version of Endgame.
100%.
Where they pull people from all of these spin-offs and do like a big like finale. It'll be
Um,
good.
and Margot Robbie
Yes, also in the news.
has said that she wants a relationship with Greta Gerwig like Scorsese and De Niro have following Barbie's success.
Hmm.
She goes, Greta has to work with me at least 4 more times. And I guess my entire point is for a long time we've had like an actor and director who are like seen as intrinsically linked because they work
Hmm.
together so many times.
Yeah.
Scorsese and De Niro obviously being the most famous example, but Tarantino and Sam Jackson have worked together a
Yeah.
lot, stuff like that. Greta Gerwig is, I think, it's pretty comfortable to say the biggest name in directing at the minute in the new generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say she's part of the same generation as Nolan. I think she's the first
No.
of this new generation of superstar director. Um, I see no reason why Margot Robbie can't do that again. Margot Robbie's a fantastic actress.
Yeah.
Greta Gerwig is undoubtedly a phenomenal director.
I
And
yeah, I mean,
maybe we're finally winning this battle of, you know, getting women in positions where they can actually make a difference and do the right stuff. Because I don't think anyone can accuse Greta or Margot of pandering to just fit in with an all boys club.
yeah. No, I think
Um,
if they're my attitude is when we've seen this in the past, clearly because they have strong relationships, that's why that started happening. That they'd start like reusing the same person. As long as their relationship is actually like this strong and good, and they want to, both parties want to do this, it's like, yeah, why the fuck not? I think
eh,
the issue would come if like this is Margot Robbie feels this way, but Greta Gerwig doesn't, and then suddenly it's like this.
Never again do I want to work with that Australian.
But then it's like some awkward, like she now feels forced to put it. It's like then those films will ever come across. Like there'll be that you'll be able to tell. So I
Yeah,
mean,
100%.
I'm all for more of these like director and actor actress combos happening. It just makes for fun trivia.
Yeah. And that is it for the Nerd News Network. However, I'm going to add one more
Yes.
bit in
Oh.
posthumously.
Oh.
So there's been some debate about a very, very well known comic book image.
Mm-hmm.
The cover of The Dark Knight Returns. I've sent you that cover on Discord.
Yes, I see this.
Are we looking at Batman's front or behind? I will send you the image that has been mocked up to show what each one would look like, but I want to know what your gut reaction is.
It's his front.
You think it's his front? Click on that tweet I sent you and look at the poll.
See, I have an issue because my reasoning in my head, I was basing it off the lightning is but like there is no. It can go both ways because it is just
Yeah.
a block silhouette. There is no. The problem is there is technically no correct answer
Orientation. Yeah.
without
So here's
the artist saying so.
the funny thing is, I own this comic.
Mm.
I've always assumed he's facing away from the reader. It was only when the person who said they drew it said they drew it with the intention of him facing forward
Artists,
that
no artists.
that everyone has started going, wait, really? A lot of people, as you can see from that poll, have always assumed he's facing away. And I don't know why. Because I never ever saw this silhouette and thought he was facing towards me. But now that I see where the lines are drawn, like if he was facing, I do see it, but I could never see it before.
My thought process when you asked me that question, like, lightning is behind. So if that was actually a light source, this side of the camera, it would all be silhouette. So I'm like, it'd be behind, lightning's behind him, his back's to it. But then also, when you look at it with the lines on, it makes total sense that it'd be forward. Why would one, he be showing his butt and not be showing his chest with his logo on it? Like, it makes for a much better picture front on than it does rear. If you're
I think the head looks kind of weird
nah,
if he's facing the front.
no, it looks weird facing away. If you look at the facing away one,
The masses have spoken.
why is his head sideways like this?
It's not. He's looking down, which is why you can't see his chin.
Yeah, but where's
because his
the
shoulder's
other
blocking it.
point then?
No, it's in
If
line.
he's looking down like this.
Yeah, it's down at a bit of an angle, but
Nah, it's
that's
just a
what you
weird.
can't
That's
see
a
his chin
weird
'cause his
head
shoulder's
angle.
blocking it. We're looking at his butt. I don't care what anyone
No.
says. You can't convince me otherwise. I own the comic.
The artist said it's him facing forward. I'm correct. We are correct. Artists, no artists.
Yeah, I just thought that'd be interesting to get your take on it because it's all I've seen on Twitter all week. Anyway, right, content championship time.
Yes.
Clone Wars versus Harry Potter: Prisoner of Azkaban. The 6 categories are supposed to help us here. They are personal relevance, how well has it aged, rewatchability, story, acting, and cinematography.
Yes.
I think this is going to be a rough one. Would you like to get started with your personal relevance?
So, Clone Wars spanned many years.
Mm-hmm. Some might say too many.
No, not enough. I remember watching some of that in the early days. Never watched it fully, and then it was a few years back now actually, but I went back and I rewatched the whole thing in perfect time for then the final season coming out. Definitely like completely changed my view of the prequels to being like, they were kind of bad, liked some of it, to actually the prequels were really were decent films. They just didn't have enough time to kind of tell the story properly or in depth enough. So they definitely grew my love for Star Wars a lot. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. It's a great film. Loved the Harry Potter films. British classics. British culture at this point. I wasn't a person who read the books. So it's like, yeah, cool. Harry Potter films were great. Don't have as strong of a love for Harry Potter as I do Star Wars. What about you?
So for me, I do think the Clone Wars is iconic. And it elevates all other Star Wars media just by the context it adds. And it does that in a very good way. But Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is the greatest Harry Potter movie. And it's one of the best things England's produced.
Whoa.
It is.
It's a bold statement.
It's like right up there. And like, did not got the worldwide reach. Come on, grow up. You're showing your age. And also Harry Potter has like directly contributed millions to my local economy. So
that's a bit of a Tory answer.
How well it's aged. So you're not gonna like what I have to say here. While the Clone Wars does age better with every new Disney Plus show, too much of the Clone Wars is useless filler that is trying to be shoehorn. Feels like too aggressive a word, but I can't think of a better word. Is like trying to be made in something more than it was. I don't mind filler being necessary for such a show that is supposed to be like 24 episodes a season
Yeah.
for an extended period. I get there has to be filler in there. It does feel potentially like with some of the new Disney Plus shows, they're trying to make sure none of that filler has gone to waste.
Or is it they're just like, oh, there's some cool stuff here we could utilize?
It's
I
they don't want any filler to go to waste.
I don't necessarily think that's too much of a bad thing. I feel like the Clone Wars, like you say, have aged well, and with new Star Wars stuff, kind of ages better, like even more, because context is found there. I also feel the final season, and I know we're looking at Clone Wars as a whole, but the final season of Clone Wars and kind of that culmination of that story arc has aged very well, and has brought a lot more love back to the prequels.
I agree.
Harry Potter, I mean, it's always been well received.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, it's aged well. Don't get me wrong. Like Harry Potter, its sense has aged well. More people talk about it. More, it's reached further over time.
I mean, I've seen like 10-year-old kids walking around in all out Harry Potter dress up. I'm like, 10-year-old kids were born after the last Harry Potter film came out.
I've seen 10-year-old kids with lightsabers. So,
They've had Star Wars films in their lifetime, dipshit.
so your point.
You know exactly what my point is.
I know.
In the 80s, kids dressed up as Darth Vader. In the 2000s, they dressed up as Darth Maul. In the 2010s, they dressed up as Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Kids are still dressing up as Harry and Ron
I
and
know.
Hermione. It's
Oh yeah,
it's a rough one.
it is. Harry Potter has not gone anywhere, and if anything, has got
No.
a stronger fan base. So
Yeah, it's cemented itself in a way that I don't think anyone could have predicted.
no.
Rewatchability.
I
This is a
mean,
recurring theme.
we can just like this is a simple answer. Harry Potter is a singular film.
Yes, it's infinitely easier and more appealing to sit down and watch 1 2 hour film
I am
over 10 seasons.
I am never going to go back. I'm pretty confident saying I will never go back and watch the Clone Wars fully start to finish ever again.
Yeah.
I
You'll
will
watch
if
the arcs you care about.
I will go back and watch the necessary watch list for the important stuff.
Yeah.
That is the most I would go back and rewatch, and that's if I was doing a Star Wars marathon.
Yeah.
I may
100%.
watch the last season again, but that's not what we're talking about here. And even that alone is probably longer than Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
But again, that's an arc that's valid to watch, but it's still
yeah,
less rewatchable simply because it's a bigger time commitment. And also because Harry Potter there isn't as much Harry Potter, a lot more of it is easy to remember. So if someone just puts Prisoner of Azkaban on, even if you're not a mega fan and you've only seen all the films once, you'll very quickly kind of remember what one this is.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's like Harry Potter is
Which makes it
significantly
so
easier
much
to
more
rewatch.
Yeah. Story. This kind of goes back to what I was saying in how well has it aged. Some of the arcs in Clone Wars are masterpieces. Some are
Yeah,
so well put together. But there are also some which, like you said, you're just going to watch the necessary watch list. They're completely skippable. There are some 3 or 4 episode arcs that you never need to watch a second time.
yeah. I would say if you look at Star Wars as a whole, there's kind of two major stories to it. There is the development of Anakin and like actually how well they wrote his fall to the dark side and how they progressed that. I think that's done incredibly, and why a lot of people now love the prequels and have a lot more love for Hayden Christensen and Anakin as a character. And then we've also got Ahsoka and her journey through the Clone Wars, which people love as well. And both are great stories. but it's hard, like when like you say, a lot of it's trying to take it without the context of other things is difficult. But I do think they are very strong.
They are very strong, but it's additive stories. They stand okay by themselves, but they work much better as adding stuff to stories you already care about and giving them more context.
Yeah,
Whereas Harry Potter is its own story.
I feel like without the context of the prequels, you wouldn't have that much care for this development of Anakin's story, or like
Exactly.
getting to see more of it. Whereas
Exactly.
you could watch Prisoner of Azkaban and you're like, huh, this is an interesting story about wizards. You don't necessarily need to know stuff about Harry before or after to kind of like really appreciate what goes on.
Exactly that. Exactly that. Um, acting.
I mean,
It's solid voice acting. It was
yeah,
designed to be a kid show at the end of the day. Like, how much better can you realistically expect the voice acting to be for something that was designed to be a kid show? Yes, Dave Filoni turned it into more than that,
yeah,
but it was designed to be a kid show.
yeah. It's it's basic. It's basic voice
Yeah.
acting, really.
And on the flip side of Harry Potter, one of the most stacked casts ever.
Yes, and probably some of the best child acting
Yeah,
for
I
Harry
can't
Potter.
think of many better.
So
Um,
yeah, it's kind
and
of
like all,
unfair.
and also like not that it really affects the quality of the acting. Can't think of many more cases where a child actor has become as well adjusted as an adult as these three have.
Yes, yes.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's rare.
Mm-hmm.
I know Daniel Radcliffe had a rougher time near the end of the Harry Potter stuff, where like for 3 years straight he wore the same outfit every day so that paparazzi would leave him alone because all the pictures looked identical.
Yeah.
But like even that he's moved past now and he's like doing pretty well. Um,
Yeah, they all kind of had their rough patches at points, but yeah, they've all they all got through that pretty well. But yeah, like you say,
cinematography slash general visuals.
I mean,
The Clone Wars is one of the most solid piece of animations I've watched. It doesn't falter, but it doesn't blow your mind
I would
often.
I would say the only like more mind blowing moments and shots all kind of happen in the final season.
Yes, when it was designed to be the final season on a Disney Plus budget, not a
Yeah,
Disney Channel budget.
yeah, it was like you say, it was an anomaly to the whole season as a whole, really. And it's like, well, when people think back and they're like, oh my god, there's some incredible like shots and scenes that look visually amazing. It's like, yeah, most of those are from the final season when the budget was way higher. And it's like, of course they're gonna make better stuff. And they've got years of like extra knowledge and ability. Harry Potter is just like the practical effects, the visuals, everything so well done for its time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and his thing, Harry Potter did, like you said, phenomenal visual effects.
yeah.
It worked so beautifully, but I don't think the actual cinematography itself was that impressive. It was very 2000s,
Yeah.
but it does
It's
make up for a lot of that with the quality of the visual effects.
yeah, and because of that, it doesn't look dated or anything now.
No, it doesn't, and that's the thing. I think the only way like good visuals for the two films from the 2000s are
Yeah.
noticeable now is because a film from the 2000s doesn't have a unique tone to it. It's
Yeah.
very just there, and then like it has solid visuals, and you're like, ah, it's the 2000s.
Mm.
Like I feel like every decade has like kind of
Something.
haze on it that
Yeah.
allows you to tell what decade you're watching.
I know what you mean.
And I think 2000s has a very strong one with a lot of pop culture films from the 2000s. Harry Potter not avoiding that at all. Um, it's time to tot it up
I don't like where this is going. I
I
just want
didn't
to
think you
say
would. I'm going to assume personal relevance is a draw.
yes, because I'm not shifting off Star Wars, so
That's fine. How well it is aged?
what
The Clone Wars show specifically.
I know that's the thing. It's like as much as I want to be like Anakin has aged great, we love Anakin now, but this is not just about Anakin. Yeah, I mean you can't deny Harry Potter has a stronger fan base now than it probably did when it released.
Yeah.
So
Rewatchability basically is always
yeah,
going to go towards a film in this
yeah,
situation. Story, Harry Potter over Clone Wars.
yeah,
Not Harry Potter over Star Wars.
yeah.
Harry Potter over Clone Wars.
Over what happens in the Clone Wars, just like yeah, there's only two kind of strong stories in there, and that doesn't compete with the story of Harry Potter.
Acting, I don't think there's much on like this late in our bracket that's going to beat Harry Potter Prisoner of Azkaban
No.
for the quality of acting.
And the stacked cast.
Yeah. And cinematography, I don't think the animation style in Clone Wars is good enough to usurp the very well done practical effects of the Harry Potter films.
I can't comfortably let like one final season of Clone Wars be enough to beat Harry Potter.
Yes. If the entire show had looked like the final season, we would have had a much more difficult discussion on our hands, I think.
Yeah.
But it didn't, so we don't. I don't need to tot the individual scores up. We both know that Harry Potter's won this.
I mean, I've got plenty of Star Wars stuff in here.
Clone Wars has made a good run for itself here. It beat Ben 10, the OG series. It beat X-Men Origins Wolverine, and then it got to here. It's done all right for itself.
Yeah.
It made it to the quarterfinals. It does as well as England does at World Cups. Like,
hey, our female team did well.
Yes. I'm talking historically of
England. I know.
Don't even get me cancelled like that. Jesus Christ, man.
Says you, does it to me.
I've never once tried to get you cancelled.
I'm going to doubt you on that because I'm sure there's something you've said that's...
All I know is that you weren't in a pub watching the women win the European finals, and I know for a fucking fact I was.
That's because I just don't like football as a whole sport.
Yeah, no, it seems sexist to me. What do we think, ladies? Is Horry just being a sexist pig? I think so.
Did you watch Valorant Champs?
Valorant Champs? No, I don't think I did this year.
Good answer.
Esports nerd.
I was going to say, because if you watched the women's Valorant Champs.
But next week we've got absolute hell on earth. You thought this week was bad, Horry?
Uh-oh.
Andor versus Return of the Jedi.
Fuck. Oh, that's going to be brutal. But
unfortunately, that's all we have time for.
I win both times because it's Star Wars either way.
Yes. Oh, there is so much Star Wars in this.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of naughty. I don't know how you pulled this off. I mean, you just threw a fuck ton of Star Wars into the initial batch, to be honest.
I did.
You just kind of thrown all of Star Wars in there, like, some of it will have to get through. Law of averages. But that is it from us this week. We will see you next time out.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, make sure you liked up, make sure you subscribed up, and we'll catch you in a bit.
Yeah, we'll catch you in the next one.